Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Berry Pleasures. I'm your hostess, Pollyanna Amazing. And today I have the amazing Jennifer from What I Had Heard Was podcast. Fantastic view of some pretty awesome opinions you all have over there. I kind of really dig your show. That's good. And Jennifer and I met during an amazing Twitter space with our fantastic mutual friend, Pixie, from Next Up on Stage. She's amazing. Thank you, Fairy Podmother, for being so amazing. But Jennifer, please introduce yourself. Tell the people out there what you do and what's going on today.
My name is Jennifer, and I am a co-host of What I Had Heard Was. We're just random stuff, like a fish floundering around, bouncing, trying to figure out what we're doing, what we want, what we think. But we're full of opinions about stuff we have no idea what we're talking about. And
we like opinions over here for sure.
We have strong opinions.
You know what? Strong opinions are what makes the world turn round. But the reason why I was so excited to get to speak with you is because in that Twitter space, we were talking about weird laws in the United States that are still in the books about sex and sexuality. And your specific comments and what you've told me have really stimulated my brain about this topic. So let's talk about what goes on when the law says you can't do things, right? You would think that our own sexuality, our own abilities to be ourselves should be just that, ours. But little do you know that you might be doing something illegal out there according to your state. One of the funniest things that I think that I've read so far in my research for this is that in Washington, where I reside right now, you cannot, as a stripper, you cannot wear a device that stimulates your pubic hair. It's against the law. Now, I don't know about you, Jennifer. I don't know.
Is that a problem for strippers?
I had no idea. I don't even know. I didn't realize there was a product out there that stimulates your pubic hair growth.
Yeah, is this like the stuff they put on their heads, to stimulate hair growth there?
I don't know. It must be. I really legitimately can. I didn't look that part up because I was so flabbergasted to even hear that. But I thought, okay, that's an interesting law. Let's find out more. But you were telling me a really interesting law. Go ahead and tell me some of the ones that you find closest to your heart.
Well, one that we talked about on the show, but that I keep having to bring up is that Florida once made it illegal to have sex with a porcupine.
Oh, well, okay.
So I don't believe it specifies like if it's just for men or it's just for women, but I feel like women have enough common sense to be like, I'm not going to have sex with a porcupine.
Right. This is and sorry guys to generalize, but this is a guy, hold my beer, let's watch this. Right.
Thank you. Yep.
Like that can be it has to be a dare, right? What would make you want to get that close to a porcupine?
Yeah, you got me on that one.
Or which guy did that made the law? Like, I want to meet that dude. I want to
And how
know.
many?
Yeah, right.
Because it's not one guy that created a law. It didn't happen one time and they're like, you're an idiot.
Right.
We're going to create a law about this. That's not, it takes like 50 people to do something insane before they're like, we're going to have to put a stop to this.
It's really, yeah, exactly. Now, there are always, I come from rural Kentucky and I know you're from the same general area. So there, there's always the sheep jokes, guys, sheep fuckers and that sort of, like that's been a joke forever. Bestiality jokes have been something that you've heard of forever because in the spectrum of things, most people believe in their hearts that that is like one of the most awful things that you could totally do. But we were discussing earlier today consent. Let's talk about that. Like, talk to me about the consent piece.
I think that the only reason anybody, primarily the government, has to regulate our sex lives is consent for people who cannot consent or animals who can't consent or whatever the case may be. That is the only time they need to put their laws in our bedroom.
Right, right. It's really it's interesting to me that, like the sodomy laws where you can't have
Hmm.
anal or oral sex with people. You can't have obviously there was a state that we were speaking about that you can't. Oh, it's Colorado. Colorado, by the way, Pixie, I know you're in the Colorado area. You can't have sex with your husband in a stream while
Don't do it.
bathing. Don't even try it, girl. Don't try it. I don't want to see you get arrested for that. There's so
What
many other
if you're
things that I'm
swimming?
sure. Oh, only it says bathing. The specifics are bathing, so you never know. But like in Georgia, like we were just saying, anal and oral sex, regardless of your marital status in Georgia, is still illegal. Listen, I know some people in Georgia that are doing that. So be safe, friends. I don't know.
Of course, the only reason they make a lot of these laws is to be able to punish, any homosexuality or anything that makes them uncomfortable.
Yeah. And that's the strangest of things that our country is that as such that they made laws that were specific against all these different groups of people. That's what our country does, right? We get
Hmm.
on a bandwagon, and I see that happening a lot with the cancel culture that's going on right now. I feel it's the same kind of deal. You get on a bandwagon because you don't like this certain group or you don't like this or that this certain group is doing. And then let's just go ahead and eradicate it. Let's make a law makes it illegal. Let's not ever do anything that allows these people to explain why they do what they do or how they do what they do. So I totally am, it's an amazing thing that we have laws again that say that you can do certain things and you can't do others in the safety of your own home with your partner or partners, however that may be, in a consensual, agreed, way. But so many states too that I've looked into have laws against the most ridiculous of things. Like, for instance, it's illegal in Kansas to drive a prostitute to their work, to their sex work, that is. If you're a prostitute and you need to go to your other job, I'm sorry.
You think that maybe it's they made that one just because, like, if they catch you in a car, they want that specifically to be illegal?
Absolutely. I'm sure. Well, these are all things that could potentially help the police to convict you for other things. But sex work in itself, for me personally, I believe that if you want to be a sex worker, that you absolutely should have the legal right to do that. If it's a consensual thing, if the other person is consenting and wants to be, go into that agreement with you, absolutely hands down. But we have to perverse things in such a way sometimes that it just blows things out of proportion.
I'd prefer for sex work to be legal and to be regulated. I know that a lot of people disagree on the regulation part, but it, go ahead and do it if that's what you want to do.
Right.
More power to you.
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
But let's be safe.
right, exactly. And regulation in the fact of having testing and safety measures and cleanliness, those are all important things for the health of both parties that are involved in that sex work. So I totally will be in agreement with you on that because it's just, prostitution is, they always say, the oldest, profession in the world. And it didn't just start with women. It started with
Right.
men too. So young boys were prostitutes back, with the Greeks and Romans. That's a total thing. But we just think about that as I think when I met my first person who was a sex worker, I was just like, "Oh my gosh, I feel so bad for you. That you have to do like you feel like you have to do this to make a living and the girl told me, she said, have you ever been on that first date where you feel like he pampers you, he's wants you to have the greatest time? That's what sex work is to me. It's not, oh, somebody sold me into a life of servitude and I have to pay them on the backside. That's not how that works. I get to do what I want. I can go here, I can go there, I can go on vacations with people, I can do whatever I choose to do. And I'm making that decision. And that floored me. I was so taken aback by that because in my young Kentucky mind from, Bible thumping middle of nowhere, that was like, oh, that can't be possible. It can't be possible that you want to do that. And the glamorization, let's even say, or glamorization, sorry, I put a T in there. I'm from Kentucky. Let's just quit it. The glamorization, I'm so terrible this morning, of prostitution, like in Pretty Woman. That's the best, example that you could do.
Right.
Obviously illegal to be a prostitute, but she's being saved by the rich patriarchy. I just have to throw that in there. That that rich white male is there to help her out and take her
Who's going to
away from
stand
that
up for
life.
you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an interesting piece to this. But moving on past that,
Sex
past
work is a very honest a relationship, and that's something I think that people are missing. Is everybody knows what's going on there, as opposed to, if you meet somebody on Tinder,
right.
meet nobody knows what's going on, and
Nobody.
chances are you're going to fuck both of them anyway. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And how, like payment is subjective, right? Hey, what a great dinner that you paid $200 for me. So now I'm going to hop in bed with you, or thanks for the $200. Bye. And
Yeah.
not all of us need that committed relationship to be able to say that's okay. It's okay to have different ideas, or think that one way is your way and one way is somebody else's way. It's okay to think that way. And that's one of those with these laws, it just keeps throwing me back to how people process all this information in their minds. Like, let's say in Minnesota, grabbing someone's clothed buttocks is not considered sexual assault. They are working on that law, apparently, that you're still allowed to grab somebody's butt. What?
Oh, I
How is
don't
that a
think
thing?
so.
How is that a thing? How is that a thing? And really, too, the thoughts of, and I come from an older generation of people too, where we normalize the things that have happened, such as that, like a guy taps you on the butt and it's like, oh, well, that's okay. He's just telling me I'm cute. No, not really. Without my consent, he's not really telling me I'm cute. It's degrading sometimes. And it's whatever mindset that the perceiver is in, is, you might have
It's
just
power
tapped somebody.
play.
Yeah, it's totally, if you, I can honestly say in my lifetime, I really had to stop reaching out to put my hands on people. I'm a medical provider, so my comfort zone is right in your face, right? Like, I'm used to people at their most vulnerable letting me touch them, and like in a gown with no clothes or whatever. Like, that's who I am. So as I learned more about consent, learned more about how people don't want you to touch them all the time, and that's okay. But that was a thing for me, to ask for permission to touch somebody's shoulder, or is it okay if I put my hands here, or is it okay that I'm going to look at this on your body? I
Mhm.
never did that before a few years ago, because I was not informed on that consent, because it's just a forced consent when you're in the hospital. People are on each
Right.
side of you doing whatever. So this was a huge eye-opening thing for me when I began to learn about tantra and that sort of thing, was the consent piece, because nobody taught me consent like that. Your mom and dad will say, don't let boys touch you. You don't do this. You don't do that. But in
Right.
the moment, you don't know, like, you really want to please the person that you're with. So you're going to do whatever you think that they want to do. And that's where people get into trouble. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
It's all about consent. But when you go down to, okay, you don't marry family because genetically it's a higher risk when you inbreed of birth defects.
Right, right.
So that's where those laws come from.
Mhm. Yeah,
But should they be able to get married and live their life and not have kids, maybe? I don't know.
right. It's a very fine line in how things work like that. Who's to say you fall in love with your cousin? I know, this is such a Kentucky thing to be saying. In the state of Kentucky, you have to sign a form that says you're not going to marry anybody closer than your second cousin. I don't know if that's true for Ohio. I remember, I think that that might be a thing as well.
I think so.
And I don't know how that law is for all other states. I should have really looked into that a little bit better. But okay, you can't marry any closer than your second cousin. That's a weird law, right? Like
I
who
think
said
so.
that that's a like who made that up and why? We're gonna have to do a whole nother show on that.
The further back you go, people were marrying, like there was a lot of small villages or, small areas, and people just married each other's kids, and that's the way it went.
That's it. That's how, half of Kentucky gets that entire incest and inbred kind of thing. And it's cool. All the people in Appalachia that have been or subject of abuse because of those kinds of jokes. I'm sorry out there. I feel your pain. I really do. But one of the most interesting things that I came upon is that in the state of Nevada, let's talk about that. Prostitution is legal in some parts of Nevada,
Right.
but no brothels can be within 400 feet of a place of worship. So you can't leave church and go have sex or vice versa. It doesn't
I mean,
work.
I think you can. You're just going to have to take a longer drive, which I
It's
don't think that's going to stop anybody.
it's just the cutest things, some of these laws. And Oklahoma, let's talk about Oklahoma. Sex education instructors must, against scientific evidence, teach students that engaging in homosexual activity is primarily responsible for the contact with AIDS.
They're still teaching this.
They're still teaching this. That's on the law. That's on the books now. I can't imagine if anybody out there is a teacher in Oklahoma, please tell me, or sex educator in Oklahoma, please tell me that this is not true. I'm reading this and thinking, holy cow, that's crazy. That's crazy.
That's terrifying.
It really is. And again, just because the law is on the books doesn't mean somebody's going to come knocking on the door. But if somebody wants to make a big deal about it, that could be a thing.
It,
And
right.
yeah, we can't have that. There's too many people who enjoy their homosexuality and who are there's nothing wrong with homosexuality in my mind, or
No,
like for me, if you love somebody, you love somebody, and that is it. And if they are consensually loving you back, then that's what love is supposed to be about. That's what it's supposed to be about. In Ohio, let's talk about Ohio because there's so many fun laws.
uh-oh.
No, my very favorite was you can't touch dancers in Ohio. Here's
Hmm.
talk. Like the Stormy Daniels thing. I lived in Columbus when the Stormy Daniels thing came up, Donald Trump, gotta love all that mess. But besides that, there's some really I can't imagine being a dancer and having these people pawing you all night long, regardless of what state you're in. So if you're a person who likes to visit the strip club, be respectful. These women are out here making money for
Working.
themselves. Yeah, they're
Right.
working. Don't put your hands on them. Why would you do that?
That's
It's
a
not
difficult job. And I think that people
totally.
write that off, like, oh, if I was built for it, I would be a stripper. No, you wouldn't, because do you know how hard it is, like physically demanding that job is, and then having to put up with the bullshit every night?
Exactly. Exactly. And it's kind of it's ironic how much nursing is like being a stripper. No lie. Or a prostitute. I tell people this all the time. I've probably touched more penises than a prostitute being a nurse,
Fair,
I
yeah.
have probably heard more sexually charged innuendos than any prostitute because in the job that I did, sometimes people don't want to be there. And they're going to say all of the most disturbing and disgusting things that they can to you to elicit a response.
Right.
So that's one of those kind of deals where I'm just like, people do better, people. That's it. And it's not just males that were making those comments, by the way. I'm going to equally share the load with females as well, because sometimes there was people that made me blush, and it takes a lot to make me blush.
It's probably at the point they came in there, they're like, I care about nothing anymore. Let's see how bad we could make it.
Right. Actually, that's it. Oh my gosh. So let's talk about Texas. We'll pass Ohio. Texas. Anyone who has 6 or more obscene devices, which I'm guessing to be assistive devices such as dildos or vibrators, is
Hmm.
presumed to possess them with intent to promote. And promoting obscenity is illegal. Obscene devices. They're calling sexual aids obscene devices. That's a
I
great
wonder
law right there. What?
I wonder what that covers. And that again, like it doesn't affect anybody. It affects absolutely nobody.
Nobody, unless they want to say, okay, we're in your house, you're doing something illegal. We found this.
We
We're
found 7 dildos.
gonna arrest you right
Put your
now.
hands behind your back.
I love it.
That's when you meow and be like, give me the cuffs, officer.
And for all of my listeners out there, my EMS friends, in the state of Utah, BT dubs, you cannot legally have sex while riding in an ambulance. I don't know if any of you all out there have had sex in an ambulance, but if you're sick and you get in the ambulance, don't have sex with the person back with you. It's not.
If you're not sick, I mean, go right ahead.
Yeah, totally. Riding or sitting. I'm not going to say another word about that because that's really close to my heart kind of a deal.
In, in in Minnesota, men are not allowed to have sex with live fish.
Oh, but dead ones are okay? Like, how's
I
that work?
guess so. And again, I guess women can have sex with fish,
Hmm.
just not the men. And
Well,
how did this become a problem?
right. Who are these people that are making, one day I would want to be that person that somebody makes a law about, but not in that context. I don't think. That's fantastic.
Beneficial law.
So tell me some more of the laws, Jennifer, that you know about, because this is exciting. And
In North Carolina, you can't have sex in a graveyard.
well, uh-oh. Good thing that's not a thing in Kentucky, or at least I hope not. Um, I spent most of my high school years having sex in
I feel like I feel like things are illegal in this country that wouldn't be illegal in others. I feel like we're just such a prudish country.
we totally are, but I will say I do have a really an acquaintance from a place called Mauritius, and that's like the coast of Africa. They are not allowed to have sex toys, talk about sexuality, and she is a sex educator. And she's amazing. She really puts herself out there, but she's doing this and it's dangerous for her. It's really it's unsettling how dangerous it is for her. And
They enforce it.
yeah, they totally enforce it there. But you have some Middle East countries. You cannot take like I tell my friends all the time who are going overseas, don't take vibrators and things in your bags. Do a little hands-on action while you're gone on travels in the Middle East because they will arrest you, and nobody wants to go to jail there. I don't want to go to
Especially
jail.
for that. Be like, what did you get? What are you in for? A dildo.
Right. I mean, but we have to go back to talking about cultures, and culturally, Europeans are a little more open to sexuality, homosexuality, that sort of thing. Not that it's 100%, grand and fabulous, but there are places that it's way more acceptable than others. And coming from where I grew up and you live, people are a little different everywhere. But well, I'll just say there is no federal law on the books, by the way, that mandates what sex toys can be made out of or should be made out of. So
You can make them out of ice.
you could make them out of anything. So that's that's a good thing and a bad thing, I think, because you don't want to put anything in your. So I tell people all the time, don't put anything in your mouth, your vagina, or your anus that is caustic or something that you wouldn't eat. Right? You don't want to do that. If you can't put it in your mouth, don't put it in your vagina, people.
And some of the things you can put in your mouth, you should not put in your vagina also.
True story. True story. We don't need to do that. Oh, this is a silly law. In Illinois, when someone sells a reptile, you have to legally tell somebody not to kiss the reptile. That's not even, that's probably because they have some kind of bacteria on them and you'll get like salmonella.
And
What
it's
a weird,
overrunning their medical system. So, their healthcare system. So they're like, all right, stop fucking kissing these lizards.
and in California, there's a law that says that you cannot make any kind of stuffed article of clothing that makes you look like you have boob pillows. And they cannot be sold within 1,000 feet of the highway. What does that even mean?
What is a boob pillow?
So
Like, is
yeah,
it
you cannot sell a boob pillow, something that looks like boobs, within
okay?
1,000 feet of a highway. So I'm guessing at gas stations or something, you can't have boob pillows.
What traumatic thing happened that they needed to ban that? Like, there's way worse things happening at truck stops.
Oh my God! Listen, you have firsthand knowledge of that for sure.
Let them sleep on their titty.
Give them their titty pillows, guys. That's
right.
That's all they need. Oh, Jennifer, you're a delight to have on here, and I'm totally gonna have you on here again when we are both ready to talk about something more ridiculous than sex laws in the United States. But the general purpose of this show is for you guys out there to listen, go out and search your own state or your own county, whatever laws that are on the books. Find them, put them out, and tweet them, DM me with them. I want to know, because this is just a scratch the surface kind of beginning of the day show. There's so many more, but I loved talking to Jennifer so much that I just wanted to have her on, and it's been such a pleasure today. Jennifer, you're so dope.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. You are a proud new member of the Buried Pleasures crew. That's just you.
Excellent.
We're all pirates here. Mm-hmm. Jennifer, thank you so much. And can you give a little your info so that people can know where they can find you?
Sure. We have a website. It's WIHHW for What I Had Heard Was. You can find us on Facebook at What I Had Heard Was. We're on Instagram. We are on Twitter. We should pop up, but I believe it's What I Had Heard W1 is what I want to tell you it is. Yes, What I Had Heard W1 on Twitter.
Fantastic. And as always, guys, I am Pollyanna Amazing. You can find me at buriedpleasures.com. You can find me at Buried Pleasures on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. And listen to the podcast on any of the major podcasting platforms. Jennifer, thank you so much. And I sure am happy that you came on to talk about weird things that go on with sexuality in our country. All right, guys, you have a great day. Bye.
When it rains, it pours. Water's up to my chin. Won't stop fighting to the very end. Many men try to reach it. Many men have failed. Well, if you wanna get to heaven, you gotta raise a little hell. And I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. They say no to sleepless nights. Will you find me? Hope you find me. I'll be back home soon. When the sunrise, when the
Just Some Podcast Media.